Well, welcome to our late spring garden tour. We're going to give a tour of most of the plants here in the garden and take a look and give you some names. And if you've been following our channel, you know all of our plants, except for a few we planted here, stay in the ground. Everything we named today is going to be things we leave year round. Some of the palms get protected some. You can look back at some of our videos and see which ones get protected and how. And here we go. We're going to take a look and let's see how they're looking. It's right about the second day of June in 2025. So let's see. And we're going to start off with one of the most popular palms today. And just to get things going on a high note, we're going to start with our Sabal Louisiana, which you can see is getting pretty large here. It's got some bloom stalks going up here pretty high that still going, so those things end up getting to be about 10 foot tall when they get going. But you can see the palm. I don't know if you can see here, this frond is kind of an odd angle, but it's getting to be pretty wide. This frond is probably about 4.5, 5 feet wide. And so that's one of our popular palms. It's gotten to be pretty big. It's gotten to be about, had a pretty big trunk on it there. And in front here, you can see one of our Canna Lilies that we leave in the ground also year round, starting to grow. Blooming here. This Canna Lily here is called Lemon Punch. Got it from Brian's Botanicals. It's one of the first ones to start blooming here. And where we're at, when these canna are small, the snails like to start eating them, so we put out some slug bait for them. And when they get larger, some of the problems that they have, these leaf rollers, these bugs, you can find one of our videos on how to spray for them. But other than that, we like canna. They bloom, especially one like this, most all the summer, and just keep going. And spread really easy, so you can take them and put them in other parts of your garden. And also over here, we have one of our regular just Sabal minors. You can see from the other palm we looked at earlier, this is a pretty large one, but you can see the Sabal Louisiana is a lot larger. And this is just kind of a standard size one. And here's our rocket palm. This is one of our fastest growing palms. You can see it just barely fits in the frame. And it's gotten to be about 12 feet of trunk from just a small palm that was about 2 feet tall when we put it out. And this palm, we've got it on our video list. If you want to take a look up rocket palm, search for it. You can see a history of how it's grown. But done really well for us. And planted it a little close to the house here just to give it some protection, because here these palms are pretty marginal. They don't like lower than about 10 degrees when they get really large, 10 to 12 degrees Fahrenheit. And below that they'll start getting some damage, and in the low single digits Fahrenheit they will take a lot of damage. But anyway, there's one of our Windmill Palms, which is Trachycarpus fortunei. And in this section of our garden back here, we have another one of our Trachycarpus fortunei. And they're one of your best fast-growing trunking palms you can put in a colder climate, especially zone 7 or 8. And if you want to protect them, you can lower zones of 7 and 6 and below. You can grow them. They're good palms because they take such cold temperatures. But take a look at it. Back here we have our various pots. We have Boutia bamboo, and we keep everything we have in a pot. And you can put and keep these bamboo in pots for several years, and they do really well. If you want to put them in the ground, you got to be really careful. Put a root barrier or put them out in the open where you can mow around them or trench around them. But There's various ones of bamboo that are good and cold hardy. These will survive even in the pot. Down into the negative temperatures, -6, these potted bamboo have been through with no extra protection around the bottom. So they're pretty tough. And here, they're not blooming yet, but we have out some of our Canna lilies. These come back year round real well for us. And some varieties you can get down into low zone 7 and possibly a zone 6 if you put them out in a good area. And here's some of our favorite Canna lilies. These are our Tropicana. These have some very pretty foliage, and the blooms are nice and tropical. Hard to beat these. And we have quite a few of these around, and love them pretty good. And back in the back here, we have our Sabal palmetto. We just have one large one, and we've just put out one smaller one here. Once these get pretty big, they can handle some temperatures, maybe down to about 10 degrees, but they don't like a lot of cold. I don't think they're quite as hardy, at least here for us, as the Trachycarpus fortunei, because the fortunei grow a little faster and handle the snow and the wet conditions a lot better. But if you're in a warmer area, especially in Atlanta or south of Atlanta, they'll probably do better for you than Trachycarpus fortunei in that area. But probably north of Atlanta, you're probably better with a Trachycarpus fortunei, in my opinion. But once these get large and a big trunk, they're pretty hard to kill. But they're a little slower growing. It'll take you at least 10 years from a small one to grow. Or if you're in the Atlanta area or south of there, you can probably find one that's dug from Florida or somewhere there, a trunked one already, and you can get it. It'll come back in 2 or 3 years and be a full, good-looking palm. And you can put out one with 10 feet of trunk to start out with that way. But anyway, there's our palmetto. See, it's got these big curved fronds and lots of these filaments. And we'll go on and see what's next. And as we look around this way, we'll see some more of our Canna lilies, which haven't bloomed yet. They're still waiting on those a little bit. And we'll see up here another one of our larger fortunei. This is a stiffer frond fortunei. And that one's got about 8 feet of trunk or something like that. They're again grown from a little palm. They grow better and do healthier that way. And we'll take a close-up look at our Tropicana here. And going on around here, we've put out some pitcher plants. I'm not a very good expert on those. A lot of people get these things very thick, but they come back year to year. They're pretty cold hardy. Over here we have a kind of a little bit larger dwarf than some of our smaller dwarfs we'll see later, but this is I think it's a Blountstown dwarf or whatever. I'm not really sure. I'll have to go back and look. This one, I get them confused. We had another one. We got this one from Plant Delights, but it's getting a little bit larger than our other dwarf. This one's about 2.5, 3 feet tall. You can tell when you look at the blooms on these, they're very small. And back in the back, we have our Sabal Birmingham. And it took a little bit of frond damage there. It's been pretty hardy down to about 5 degrees Fahrenheit. I think it'll make a big recovery. It'll probably get a lot bigger this year. And we look through this area. We've got another Sabal minor. And we've got a few non-hardy things we put out just for fillers here while we're waiting on some things to grow, because all through the garden we got some things like some other little Windmill Palms, or a hybrid there that's put out. And this is our Fatsia japonica spider web. It died back to the ground this year at 4 degrees. And it's coming back. We think it'll get pretty big. They're not quite as hardy as the other little bushes, the Koopa japonicas that we put out. More Christmas ferns in here. And of course we have our pineapple lilies, which are still waiting on to bloom. And they'll probably bloom here pretty soon. These are a good part sun plant that'll come back for you and up to zone 6. And here's a Canna Lily. It's starting to bloom here. And over here we have our Koopa japonica, and these things are very tough. They've taken temperatures down below 0 here, and doesn't phase them a whole lot. They look like they're going to be hurt when the temperatures are like that, but then they make a full recovery. And here is our Trachycarpus wagnerianus, and this palm is getting to be over 8 feet. These for certain have the stiff fronds, and they've went through some really strong winds this spring, and doesn't phase them hardly any. Sometimes you'll see one frond with just a little bit of stuff that got floppy on them there, but other than that, it's basically unfazed by winds. Pretty high winds, like 60 mile an hour I think we've had. And hidden away here under the waggy palm, with fronds clocking in at under 2 feet, is our smallest little dwarf Sabal minor. And this little Sabal minor here, blooming this year, and it's a very small little palm. Blountstown dwarf, I think for sure this one was called when I got it, but various ones of these dwarfs get apparently a few different varying sizes, but you can tell if the bloom stalk is teeny tiny. And those of you that have a Sabal minor will know the bloom is, fairly good size. That's a good indication these are really a little dwarf palm. We'll go on over here and just take a look. These are our cast iron plants, and cast iron plants are for sure really good and hardy, up to at least about 0 as well, somewhere in that range. Even below that, they'll come back from the ground. They label these in most of your like Lowe's and Home Depot as house plants, but you can go ahead and put these out. And I learned something from one of our visitors that come this spring, is there's a lot of different varieties of these, like the ones that have white in the leaves, different things, but the green ones are the by far the hardiest. And we had some other varieties that took quite a bit of damage, and the green ones did pretty well. And we'll step back here carefully and take a look at this area. And this has one of our original windmill palms. This is one we bought balled and burlapped, and it hasn't grown nearly as much as the ones that we put out small, but it has stayed a nice compact size and easy to take care of. It takes a couple of years to look real pretty and get its roots established when you buy them that way. And back in this area we have a few things like our potted tropical pitchers here, and some more of our bamboo, and we leave these ferns out here year round. They stay green year round. Get a little beat up in the winter, but for the most part do okay. Put out a majesty palm in a pot here, which you see these sold in all your stores, but they're not very hardy, of course. They'll take temperatures down to the mid-20s maybe before they take a lot of damage, especially if they have some overhead protection, but you got to bring those in. Some other of our potted bamboo. And we have a little bonsai tree here that we've had for a lot of years. That thing does really well through the winter. Just putting it in the garage, I mean. We have some potted Washingtonia robustas, 2 of those there. And of course you got to bring those in the winter as well. And here's the palm that we replaced our famous mule palm with. Our mule palm, you can look back and see some videos of how it did over the years. We kept it for quite a few years out here. It finally just got too big to deal with, but in its place is this nice Trachycarpus wagnerianus, which we've had in the pot for several years. And you can see already putting it out, it's got about 3 feet of trunk or so, and getting to be up about 6 foot tall. And so this should be a good palm for us. And for those of you that have asked us over and over and over, we've got a European fan palm down there in the corner we got from Teddy's nursery, and so we're going to try it out. We put it in as good of a place as we can up here by the house, and it's got a little bit of overhead protection. And back in this area we have a Sabal Birmingham. This is one of the best looking ones we have. I've been protecting it when temperatures go under 5 Fahrenheit because we want to keep it as pretty as possible up close to the house here. But these palms can take down pretty low temperatures, and you can see they have a little bit more fiber than you'll see in your Sabal minors. If you get down here and look at the trunk, you can see that compared to our Sabal minor, this is starting to form a little trunk, and there's no bloom coming out of this palm, where our Sabal minors are blooming like crazy. And you can tell it's a little different than a Sabal palmetto because the fronds at this size are just not very costopalmate. They're not very curved or folded in. And as opposed to the palmetto, you'll see a pretty large curve and lots more fibers at this size. And so we're expecting this to be a pretty big, pretty palm, and it'll probably grow a few feet of trunk over the years, and have to stay tuned. We think this is going to be a good one. And we can see on over here, we have a few plants out that are non-hardy, like this tropical hibiscus. You have to pot that up every year, bring it inside, it won't come back. Put out some cordyline. This is just a little, kind of a smaller cordyline. They have 2 or 3 different sizes. The bigger ones are like the red sisters, and this one's more of a smaller type. But we had a little surprise. I learned that these are root hardy to zone 8 and even pulled up. One of our cordylines just came back from the roots, so I suspect if you just cut it back to the ground and mulch it in zone 7, you may have some cordylines come back for you if you don't want to take them inside and protect them. That would be the best, so that way you can start out with a good plant, but a little tough to keep some things over winter. A small needle palm here. Here's another windmill palm here that we got up by the house. We've got several by the house here to keep them protected. This one we moved last year, so it's a little rough. Back in here, kind of hidden, there are 2 more. They're going to go up this wall here and be big, tall palms for us in a few years. We have another pretty Sabal minor here. And over in this area under the Butia, we have some more dwarf Canna Lilies. These are not as vigorous, but they come back every year. These are Maui Punch. It's blooming for us already. And we have a few small, that's a Sabal minor, just a regular one. In the middle is supposed to be a Sabal Louisiana. And put out another section of our Tropicana here. Back close to the wall is a little palmetto we got from Teddy's nursery, and we just got it a couple feet away from the wall. Try to give it as much protection as possible. See if we can get that palmetto bigger over the years. And here's how the view of our Boutia is looking. This is a Butia odorata. It kind of has a little blue hue to it. And this palm we protect every year, but you can see it's kind of worth it. These palms are very sensitive to wet conditions, and especially if you're down in Atlanta or south, you may be able to grow them unprotected. But north of Atlanta, you better be really careful. And even in Atlanta, I know, especially during that 2018 cold event, killed out some of the Boutias there, and I know that a lot of them have suffered this year from the wet conditions, and so we always like to keep ours covered. They're pretty cold hardy down to about 15 degrees, but they don't like that snow and ice and wet sitting on them. So even at those temperatures, you may have some problems if you are in those conditions. If you're in a drier condition like the desert, they probably go through that pretty unscathed. So anyway, there's our Butia, getting to be a really big palm. Gonna be probably 10 feet tall this year, and the fronds are starting to get up above the ground here quite a bit. They're probably about 3 feet to the bottom of the fronds now. It'll be probably at the end of this year, you may be able to stand under this palm. And this back area, we have some larger ones, but this is one we moved, just happens to be blooming right now, Asiatic lily. These will come back every year for you. And we have here one of my favorite plants, not blooming yet, but a giant Canna Lily. These will get several feet tall and take a couple years to establish. Let's move on around here. Here's our needle palms. We've got 7 of these total. Tallest one now is about 4.5, 5 feet tall. There's a better look at this area as we go around. Bamboo. Sabal minor again. And we've got some pink starburst canna in here. Non-hardy plant, a portura. All these plants, since they're subtropical, will get really thick about, they peak here about in the first week in July. Got some elephant ears back here that always come back for us, all types of elephant ears. That's an aloha. Well, that's it for this episode here at Tennessee Tropics, and we want you to make sure to like and subscribe our videos. And this summer and this year, we'll go and give you a lot of different info on palms and some of the subtropical plants for your zones. We specialize in zone 5 through 8 in the United States, especially, and give you some good tips. And I like to show you how to grow these tropical plants year-round, especially in zones 7 and 8. You can have year-round greenery. And that's it for this edition of your late spring update, and we'll see you later. Have a good one.